There were about 10 or 12 business people here on Kent Avenue, and I think they need a voice as one person. Then we'll go to the community board or whatever. I mean, I don't want the questions to be repeated. We've only got about 5 or 10 minutes more on this topic. Would somebody like to get up for the business community on Kent Avenue and speak about what's happening to you because of these areas? One person.
And Karen Yevitz from the IBZ zone is here.
Okay, well, 2 people.
Okay. Well, granted, my business isn't very big, but I've been there for 7 years, and all of a sudden, it is not legally allowable for somebody to make a delivery in my space. You know, I can't receive lumber, I can't receive the articles that I need for my business, and I can't load up my truck anymore. Legally, I cannot do it. I haven't gotten a ticket yet because things have been a little bit slow. But I see over here on Manhattan Avenue, there's a bike lane that's not disrupting anybody. You know, right over here on this corner. Why does it have to be so? Was it so harsh? You know, that they just made life so difficult for everybody. Yeah, bicycles are great. You know, they're fantastic. But they did it the worst possible way. You know, this thing where it occupies basically 2 lanes of a highway. You know, and take away the parking and the privileges of being able to stop and load and unload. I think anybody could have done a better job. You know, this over here benefits too few people and it disrupts the lives of many people. You know, so that's basically it.
Hi, I'm Karen Yevitz from Avico. I'm the Greenpoint Williamsburg Industrial Business Zone. I'm the Greenpoint Williamsburg Industrial Business Zone Services Manager, and I just want to say thank you, Borough Commissioner Parmery, for being here, and Joshua. I work very closely with the Commissioner, and he has been very helpful in the past for the industrial businesses and very proactive. Unfortunately, this situation with the Kent Avenue bike lane is just utterly ridiculous. You know, the plans, everything looks good, you know, on paper, and, you know, taking over 300 parking spaces and not replacing it somewhere else is just crazy. The businesses, employees, it takes them now at least a half an hour, sometimes an hour to look for parking. You have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of employees along Kent Avenue, and the businesses are suffering. And they could speak for themselves. We're, you know, during this economic crisis, unfortunately, we cannot afford to lose any more jobs in our community, especially with the rezoning and the loss of manufacturing jobs and industrial jobs. We cannot put them out of business. So I am pleading with you to please listen to the concerns in which Joshua was, you know, kind enough to be on the phone with me and explain that you're going to try and do, you know, alternate loading zones on side streets. Unfortunately, in some cases, that is not possible. We need loading zones in the frontage of Kent Avenue and also parking. So if we could please sit down and just talk about it and find an alternative, whether it is a 2-way bike lane on the other side of the street, we're willing to sit down, and we are for bike lanes. I have 2 studies here. Okay, the North Brooklyn Industrial Area Planning Study, in which Avico was actually for bike lanes, and we got businesses to install bike racks within the North Brooklyn Industrial Business Zone. So we are not against, you know, bikers in any way. We actually, you know, majority of the employees now bike to work and also walk to work. So please just bear with us and work with us. Thank you.
I said before we wanted to move on because I know I want to get to the bus stuff. We got other topics, but I just can't resist. I would like to ask DOT to respond. It was raised by a few other people and now by this last question about why can't you have one side only, whether it's both ways on that one side or only northbound, given that White is southbound. You know, I think a lot of the problem stems from that it's both sides of Kent, and why does that need to be? Can you address that specific question? I'm sorry, I see that we've been joined also by our colleague in the council, Bill de Blasio.
Sure. The question is why can't we have a 2-way bike lane on one side of the street.
Or northbound only and white southbound.
Right, or northbound only and white southbound. The reason it's two-way at all is because it's this Brooklyn Greenway route, and it's providing a continuous route around the waterfront of Brooklyn in both directions. So that's the vision of the Greenway project, and that's not something that DOT came up with. I mean, this is a community-based project that we're working with the Brooklyn Greenway Initiative on, and that's sort of it didn't originate from DOT, but the idea of having the two-way bike path on one side of the street, it introduces a lot of safety concerns because you have cyclists operating in a place that motorists aren't expecting them, and we do find with a two-way bike path on one side of the street, there's a higher frequency of crashes than if you split the directions and have people ride with traffic. So in the long-term vision, if it's properly designed, we think it can work. But in the interim, we just don't have the capability to design and implement a safe two-way facility in the short term.
Well, what about the northbound?
Okay, let's just all calm down. There's a gentleman that'll speak for 12 people here, and there's a gentleman who wants to speak on the bicycle side of things. Since we've had the other side, is there a bicycle proponent that needs to speak? The gentleman in the blue shirt? We'll do that, and then Isaac Abraham will speak for 20 people, and then Del T from the community board will speak. We want to get through this quickly because we have 8 other issues.
We just heard this terrible proposal but we all know about the budget cuts from the MTA. Now with all this terrible transit cuts, how are people supposed to get around? I think biking has to be a big part of it. People without a car or can't afford a car, who don't want to own a car, should have another way aside from public transit as a means to get around. That said, I do think that the Kent Avenue Greenway needs to happen. It needs to be a continuing greenway to go south and north into all parts of Brooklyn. But I think, as we heard from these residents here, that it has not been properly designed, and I think a little work has to be done to fix that up. But that said, it's a crucial part, and I'm not speaking for residents of this neighborhood or for business owners, but I'm speaking for residents of New York City totally.
Okay, Del, if you're quick, and then I'll have Isaac, why don't you come up here? Del.
As a member of the community board, I feel that I have to speak for members of this community because I am a representative of the members of this community. Now, I was at the community board meeting last month, and everybody who got up to speak in favor of the bike lanes and ignoring all the problems to the community were wonderful people who ride bikes, but people who pass through this community. The people of this community got up to express how much, okay, maybe there were 1 or 2, but for the most part, it was the people of this community who were hurting because their businesses are hurting and because this was done in a way that was premature. As far as I'm concerned, if there's going to ultimately be a greenway and there's going to be something that's built that's going to work, great, but maybe it's premature to do what you've done now. And personally, I don't think it was made clear to the community that this was going to be the result. However, even if it was made clear, we don't have to nitpick about that because if it's not working, it's not working, and there's no such thing as, well, okay, it's not,